Alright, so, okay, yeah, that's staying in. Good evening, YouTube, or morning, whenever you're depending on seeing this. We are doing another podcast, and don't mind the notifications in the background. That is my phone. It is staying in the video regardless. I have another guest for me, but you already know him anyways. It's been a minute since we've actually done another podcast, so of course I am here with my fellow brethren, Cosmic 707, or formerly known as DeadProGaming, whatever you want to call him.
Or the many other names that I'm so used to. But anyway, thank you for having me here on the podcast. Appreciate it as always, and hello there, subscribers.
Alright, so let's get this one out the way. How is it that once you have finally reached 1K subscribers on your EHCW channel?
Well, like I always tell people, you know, when I started this, well, free HCW, it was something that I kind of started way back in middle school, which was years ago. God, it feels like forever. But to actually see it grow now to over 1K subscribers now, it just absolutely blows my mind. Here, I was a guy who I wasn't really even expecting 10, let alone 1K subs. But of course, even though like I did put in the matches and more, I still have to give my usual props there to the people that helped. So for that, I'm going to give a huge shout out and thanks to Randy, Widow, and the homie Jess, and of course here, most importantly, a special thanks here to the VP of it, Widow here, for going out of his way, out of his day, even though he didn't have to make the titles, the logos, and some of the arenas, and giving me some ideas for brand new promotions like Doja Pro, DPW, and many more. And I did WW, and helping me with the idea for the women's division and stuff. So thank you, too, and thank you, four. God damn it. Anyway, for
His math is sus.
EXCW. Well, sorry, I'm used to only it being us 4 instead of 5, so sorry if my math is a little bit off, but thank you for help making EHCW what it is from even your guys' part.
Okay, yep, that is a very big accomplishment indeed. I'd like to say that is one of the other reasons why it's pushing me to do more YouTube down the line, because having that accomplishment is like a dream to most others, especially for people our size in a sense, even if it's just for like a side hobby for the time being. But,
yeah.
So another interesting question that I was thinking, we know the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre game just dropped. I want to say maybe yesterday, or maybe a couple days ago. I'm not sure, but what's the core difference between that game and from the countless years you've been spending on Dead by Daylight?
Well, so a huge difference is that, with DBD, for those who have played and have watched me over the years, or, probably this to me for the first time, is that in DBD it is 1 killer versus 4, but in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game it is 3v4, and even though there isn't like you down someone and then put them on hook, like obviously like what we're used to in DBD, what kind of makes it interesting is that every match has to have at least one Leatherface, but there are about 4 different killers in general, which have their own special abilities and perks, and some things that they do better than other killers, and With Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's kind of important too for like communications, like with teammates, regardless if you're playing like survivor or killer, and also unlike doing generators and stuff like that in DBD, which a lot of people know is how you get the power gates open and stuff. For Texas Chainsaw Massacre, there's a few different ways to exit besides from one. There's the one in the basement, but it requires you to get a fuse, and plus you have to do it more. And I feel like Texas Chainsaw Massacre is basically more of like a stealth, because of the fact that when you're trying to like look for items, you want to be quiet without making a noise indicator, plus looking out for Grandpa and stuff. But I gotta say though that Texas Chainsaw Massacre is fun, and I don't feel like it's nearly as bad as, you know, DBD as far as like toxic survivors and stuff like that are. And so a lot of people are probably asking too, is like, what is Bubba's role in the game? So basically, the person who starts off as Bubba and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre starts off in the basement, which is where all the survivors are, but the two other killers can't go down there until one of them opens the door, or they feed Grandpa enough blood to not remember they are a cannibal family, so I don't know what you're expecting there, everybody watching. But until Grandpa wakes up, which then the other two killers can come into the basement and more. But basically with Bubba, he can do a lot of damage, but you need to make sure his chainsaw is rigged. But he is also one too that can destroy like certain obstacle where only survivors can really vault through, but the other killers can't. So they kind of have to rely on Leatherface to break them, but to like clear more of a pathway for them. But in a sensible way, it's like if you really want to trap survivors into an area, or the victims as they're called in the game, is just that with Leatherface you kind of like want to destroy like doors and destroy like vaultways that are still open, because when you do, they cannot lift them up or anything anymore, and plus they keep them from slamming doors, which can sometimes cause you to lose a sense about where the survivor is. But yeah, it has a little bit more objectives and stuff like that for survivors to do, but still fun nonetheless. And with each killer too, they have a whole bunch of different like executions, and if you play Leatherface 10 times, you get the Pretty Lady face. Well, if you all seen the movie, you'll know. And if you play as Leatherface for 20 rounds, there's the Grandma one, which is also in Dead by Daylight, that you can also select to play as, and different chainsaws to pick from, and you get to like level up your killers in there by like how much, if they do a certain amount of damage, and like how much stamina and blood that they pick up from hitting survivors, and that you can set up perks to help not only you but your team to get the survivors and more. But I gotta say, I've really been enjoying it. I just been waiting to have some friends to actually play survivor sided on, but I've been enjoying the killer side of that game. Sorry for the long explanation, everybody.
Well, another thing I did hear is that supposedly Sassy, I think that's the female one, or the female killer, supposedly she's broken at the moment.
Okay, so I don't know about broken because I have won like quite a few rounds with her. She's just a killer that could kind of that you have to kind of get used to playing, because she can vault through stuff like survivors can't, that most of the other killers besides from like Hitchhiker can do. So they really can keep up with like the chase and stuff, besides that one obstacle, like I said, that Leatherface needs to destroy himself. But besides from that wise, you can poison items, you can put like a poison mist thing that if they run through, they also take poison damage, which can help, especially if you're especially right behind them and you're hitting them. And of course, you know, killers do have stamina, so they can only hit you so many times before they have to like stop and regain their stamina, so it's not like they're going to be chasing you like infinitely without having to slow down. And the killers have different stacks too. And then, of course, there's Johnny too, which is a new killer too, which hasn't been in any of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. But Johnny is, how can I explain him? He is someone who I feel like if you're wanting to play like a tracker kind of like killer, he's kind of the one for you. Even though he can't fall through like tight spaces like Sissy and Hitchhiker, but let's say you're looking for a victim and you can't look and you can't find them anywhere. You can use his ability, and if you see a footprint, you can investigate it, and then once you investigate it, it literally will show you like the path on which this survivor went into. And the duration on it lasts a pretty long time, so you'll be able to catch up quite a bit of good amount of distance before it ends.
That's definitely a lot to understand when you're in the game, I feel like.
I mean, it is at first, but I quickly I feel like I kind of like learned a lot from Johnny's character. I mean, I feel like I play. If I had to choose the three killers I mostly play on there as, if I'm able to play as them, which is Sissy, Johnny, and Leatherface, are probably the most fun to play as. I mean, Cook is alright, but he's like really slow, and he runs out of stamina pretty fast, which is, you know, to be expected because he's old. But I mean, Hitchhiker is good if you're wanting to be like a trap killer while still being able to like keep up with like small spaces and stuff. And it's also important too to make sure like you lock the doors and stuff if behind you, so it helps stop the survivors from like progressing on.
Okay. Now another one, I think, of course, the Alien chapter for Dead by Daylight came out as well. What's your overall opinion on that so far?
Okay, so I got to play with one of my other friends who doesn't play on PlayStation, but on another one, but I've been friends with them on Instagram. But basically, with the new chapter and stuff, the new map itself-wise, it's a cool map. It has like a cool visual. If you look up in the sky, you can see like a cool shot with Saturn or whatever. And when you're inside the ship too, if you go past like this window where it looks like these people are being experimented on, there's actually an Easter egg to a face hugger. And so basically what I did was that as a survivor, I got close to the window, and I could see, and the face hugger jumped at me, but it hit the window and then it fell back, and then that was the last I saw of it. But for the killer itself wise, I gotta say that this killer is definitely going to be like an anti-bully killer against like bully squads, because the killer can track like which control stations it wants to go to, so when it's underground it can really do it. Plus it can see your footsteps and hear them too if you're underneath it, so it can make a different stop and go one closer to you. And some of the add-ons too for Alien are good. There's one ultra rare one, which is that if you come out of like one of the control portals and the survivor hits you with a pallet, they take damage from it, and the name of the add-on is called Acid Blood. But for perks wise, there's one for its first perk, even though I don't remember the names word for word, but there's one where you don't get like the effect to like where you get like a speed boost when you normally get in chase like blood loss. But when you hit a survivor, you get a certain amount of haste, so you can actually gain some distance back to the survivor really quickly. And for one of its other perks too, which is that if you have a survivor injured and once you hook somebody, whoever the furthest like injured survivor is will be revealed to you. And with Alien, he can go across the map pretty fast, so it really wouldn't be a problem. And with this other ability too is that if they're within, I think like a 30-meter or so radius, you all can check it if you all have DVD yourselves. But when you search the locker, if they're within like that certain amount of meters, they will scream, which will reveal their location to you. And if you have the right add-ons too for Alien 2, when you come out of control centers, you can kind of get Killer Instinct to help you kind of like know if the survivor is close by. And with Alien 2, there comes turrets. Turrets could be destroyed with basic attack, but once Alien gets too close, they shoot fire, which makes him put his hands up, but it is not. But one thing I can assure you from for you killer mains is that if you play as Alien and let's say you're picking up a survivor and you get too close to the turret and it shoots fire at you, it is not enough for them to get off of your shoulders. But it will, though, if you stay in it too long, will break up your ability, which in the ability the alien turns and gets into like a crawling animation, and it will chase you like that, and the tail has a good amount of distance, and if you're not careful at pallets and stuff, and depending about how well they're good with their aim with it, you can honestly get easily taken down by an alien.
Well, I've been out of the loop for Dead by Daylight for quite some time. I don't remember the last time I ever been on it, other than just redeeming codes or blood points and all that.
Yeah.
We could probably do something on there eventually, but I think that for me, the state that it's in, I'm not sure. Especially the amount of times we tried to do a session before and it just keeps lagging on your end pretty much. And that's always been a bitch, so that's kind of why there's not a lot of Dead by Daylight content on my side of things, because of stuff like that. And it's also not helping that the weather also kind of affects that.
Yeah.
Which is why, thank God, that it's gonna be fall in, let's say, about 2 months from now. So that's gonna be something. I'm trying to think. Okay, so for others that are not clearly in a loop, even though we pretty much have said this 1,000 times, what's the meaning with the, trying to think. It was the ECW broadcast channel or whatever it was called. I'll have to look it up, but it was almost similar to how ECW was firsthand.
Okay. So, a lot of people. Okay, so kind of explain like the entire thing.
The ECW broadcast channel.
Alrighty, so back then that was kind of like my very first like actual channel for it. But the reason why I don't upload on that one is just because the people that I used to work with that were trying to help me, grow and stuff, they just turned out to be the wrong people. So they kind of like hacked into that and got control over it. So I parted ways with them. So that's why I started a new channel, which is the one we know now, for HCW, and that's why I've been uploading on that one instead of the podcast one.
And it's probably a clear reason why it's always better that we're both independent companies and we don't even have to worry about people trying to control our show that we've built from scratch. And trying to say, oh hey, let's put this guy over, or let's have this guy be the next main eventer, or let's have this guy win the title by this stipulation. It's like, no, I want to run my show how I want to run it, and if you don't fucking like it, there's a door. It's not gonna hurt my feelings that you're out of my company.
Exactly, and that's like what I was trying to tell the guy that I was working with, is because at the time I wasn't giving him like my type of level power. I was just giving him matchmaking power, and he thought he could be a GM and try to fire talent, and I would have to tell. And some people like Jess and Randy came to me and said, so are we actually really fired from the company? I said, no, I didn't give him that type of power. I only gave him matchmaking power. But here's the thing though too, it's like I tell everybody too, I'm going, I don't script who wins or loses. Like I tell people, like, going, whoever wins. Like, I'm not like other companies where I'm gonna put over whatever. This is supposed to be something different where any one of my stars can really shine. Because and like so many people, and I probably said this before on the podcast before, but he tried to get me to fire like our boy Jess, aka Triple L, for those who don't know his wrestling character, because he thought that him and so many others thought that he wasn't going to be good enough, and I saw it, and before I know it, won the IC title and did many other great things. So, yeah.
Yep, that's always a lesson to learn, ladies and gents. Don't sign to a corporation, because they will abuse their powers, and if they don't get their way, then they're gonna try anything they can to try and fuck you over. So that's why House of Combat and ECW are in a good position that they are today, because we are our own owners, and we're able to put any type of other match that we wanted to, the way we wanted to. We're not restricted to any rules or stipulations whatsoever. We simply do what's best for the company.
Oh, speaking of that too, that reminded me of another question that somebody asked me. Which was, is that because this person watches both of our channels, and this person asked me saying, sorry if I'm a little bit confused about this or whatever, but if you and House of Combat are both working together, why is it that on one channel one person may be, like, for example, the HOC champion, but on the other it is a different person, and vice versa for like the EHCW title being on one person, but on the other channel being another? Can you explain this to me, please?
Okay, to properly try to put this as maybe accurate or as understandable as I can try to explain, House of Combat was basically my own personal idea, and like I said, ECW has been around a lot longer, and I just started my company, I want to say maybe last year, and House of Combat is somewhat under the wing of EHCW, but I am my own CEO of the company, and in a sense, Cosmic is the vice president of House of Combat. And I'm kind of saying that because he made the arena for me. You know, he didn't have to, you know, I've always appreciated that, but he went out of his way and he made the arena, and then I started using that arena for, you know, the episodes that I've been uploading for House of Combat. But the reason why it's different on different angles is I want to say in a sense that it's not really split, but I guess it's from different perspectives. I'm probably butchering the fuck out of it at this point, but
No, and
most of my stars that are featured on my show, I have not uploaded to Community Creations yet. I've kind of been just trying to perfect them, you know, their entrances, their moveset, and that's why most of them have not been uploaded on EHCW as of late. But at least that's what I can try and under explain for the most part, that yes, we're both helping each other's companies, but they're under different management in a sense. And you know, I think another thing too is that we come up with different storylines as well, and we come up with our own, you know, rivalries.
And I want to make one thing clear to everybody because I don't want nobody to take anything that we say out of context or whatever. So, like I said, it's like if you see something different on mine than his, you know, he is the CEO of his company, and I'm not trying to be like one of those people that some of you may think that are trying to make it seem like this is my version of it. I'm just trying to help my brother right here kind of get his promotion some more showtime so people will go to his channel and give it, you know, a try and get him to grow as well. And speaking of, you know, making arena and stuff, now I know, like you said earlier, like I made the arena for you, but that was because it's like I know that you were putting in a lot of work and stuff, and plus I know that you made some stuff for me in the past and more. So I kind of wanted to give back, and I was really invested in what was to become, you know, now as we know as House of Combat. And I felt bad because of the fact that here I am having my own personal, you know, like arena, and I know that you were using, you know, like arenas from the game, so I just thought, what is something that I could do to return like the favor? So I came up with the idea of making the arena. I used the logo that he used in his one of his old intros for there, and I just went with the color theme for the arena and stuff. And well, there you could go as far as the arena part.
There's another thing too to kind of show the difference between my company and his. Um, you upload your matches, I want to say, on a consistent basis. And for me, it usually takes about, I want to say, a week to about 2 weeks before I am able to upload at least a couple matches, because I try to perfect them in a way. Or not, it's not always gotta have to be, you know, a 5 star. It doesn't have to be a classic. It doesn't have to involve a bunch of spots or flips or all that other extra shit that other companies do. Um, I like to perfect them in a way to where it's at least somewhat enjoyable in a sense. And then I try to diverse it. Because another thing that I'm somewhat inconsistent with at the moment is making more female superstars. I believe I've already uploaded at least one match that features a women's match. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm against women's wrestling or any of that type of shit. I don't want anyone to think, I'm like that. It's just, I've kind of invested a lot more time into the men's division and not really having any ideas of what to do for the women's side of things. But that is something I am going to try to work on. I'm going to be at least making more female superstars, or at least use some from, the ECW side of things, like Luna Crazy and all those other uh, characters that you've created.
Yeah, and just like another like quick example too is that he was really for the women's division and pushed for it because he gave me the idea for WWR, which for those who don't know stands for Women's Wrestling Revolution, because there was one day I think it was through a message or
Yeah, it
party
was
where,
through Instagram, I believe.
yeah, Instagram, wherein he told me, hey, an idea is that why don't you have like a women's division show? And I thought, what a great way to have it then, to kind of show the support of the women's side by having their own show and division where this showcases them and they have their chance to shine just like the men's division do on the HCW and the others.
And I think Judas is like a perfect fit for that role because I think she was managing, let's say, Krieg and Crazy One at that time. So it probably made more better sense that she can be like the leading and general manager for that division. And she'll be like obviously full-time manager, but also like a part-time performer when the storyline is right and it's built correctly in a sense.
Yeah, because in case for a lot of people don't know is that, as you can see, like in most of the WWE matches, there really isn't like much of Judas, but there's like a few matches where she might appear, but that's about it, unless she's a part of like a huge storyline.
And that's sort of the same thing with my Mr. X character. I probably didn't really explain the full origin story of how that came about. Mr. X was created back in 2K20, I believe. And this might have also been around the same time where I think 2K22 was just releasing. And I kind of made that character out of boredom, in a sense, and I kind of already had a preset moveset ready for him. And I kind of threw him in a few test matches here and there. And it's like, okay, this honestly isn't a bad superstar that I created, so I should try and do something with it. And then I want to say maybe flash forward, like maybe another few years later, or like at least a couple of months. I had him involved in a storyline with my Widow character. I've made a trailer for that already, and so people who haven't seen that, you could check that out if you want. But it's simply based around a teacher versus student type of storyline. And Mr. X has honestly been in a prominent role for the most part of last year. Obviously, because since I was the VP of HCW, it made more sense that Mr. X would be the VP of Death Row. And so he managed Damian Harris and Demon, and then we pretty much know the history from there. They won all the gold, they were on top of the wrestling world, and now they're branched out and doing their own things. And Mr. X is also the head CEO of IWW, which is Irish Whip Wrestling. That idea that just came about when I was, kind of thinking of other experimental promotions to run. other than House of Combat. And so I got the idea of Irish Whip Wrestling when obviously there's that um, match between Drew McIntyre and Sheamus back in the early days. And so that kind of gave me that idea to start that company. And so I said, you know what? Mr. X has done a lot in his career, so I thought, why not make him the CEO of IWW? And he can basically just be the head CEO of both House of Combat and IWW. And so I made a character on Community Creations for him, where he's basically just a general manager. When he's not in the ring, he's obviously managing, other superstars that he might seem fit for the roster. So yeah, there's been a lot of things that we've been doing on the 2K side of things. And I would say it's looking pretty damn good. We've pumped out a lot over the past year, so that also reminded me, what is EHCW's plan going forward into the new year? Obviously that's not right now because we're still in August, but I think that's always something to keep in mind on what's the future for EHCW.
Well, besides from giving you all great matches and stuff, we're also trying to find, more younger talent. Like, for those who don't know, who are just tuning in for the first time, we get signed to EHCW and, more with newer superstars like David King, which, those who don't know, I got the David part main inspired by the DVD Survivor David. But besides from that wise, we also have 80s and all these other amazing stars, and then of course we had the one who that I downloaded from your page on King Creations, which is, I think his name was, I forgot, Jog. Who's that one that with red hair and black pants and stuff? Sorry everybody, I'm terrible with names.
The red hair and black pants.
I'm trying to think of it. And he starts with the D for his name.
Oh, Django. Yeah.
Django. Yes, I don't know why I keep thinking of something else, but yeah, Django. And Django has been someone who I've watched on, obviously, your side of HOC, and it's a superstar that has really impressed me, and I'm glad to finally see him, be on both promotions to be able to show off his incredible talent and many more that are possibly to come down the line. And besides from, new talent stuff, maybe experiment some things, have a draft and whatever to spice some things up for the shows, and then of course, we still have Wrestle War and more to continue, and more. Now I do need to address the elephant in the room here. Now I know that I posted this on my page on Instagram, and sure, to you guys or whatever, but for those who don't know, that regardless, we know him as the owner of EHCW, later of Death Row, whatever. Unfortunately, that character has passed away.
I know that's gonna sound a little confusing because, I uploaded a match of him on my end.
Yeah. Well, those could be like his last few matches that he's had before his passing. I I know everybody's probably thinking, well, what are you going to do for a tribute for him? I really don't know. I am going to be uploading one of his last matches that he had, but yeah, I don't really know what else to say besides the news that of his passing, which I'm guessing that people are going to also want like your take on that as well.
I mean, once again, like I said, it's kind of confusing because I uploaded, a match of him on my end. I guess it's to somewhat show that he's pretty much alive and well on my end. But like I said, for both different companies, we have different storylines and whatnot. So it kind of what it is really. Like I'm not really going to go against that. So although the one thing I do want to point out is that I am actually going to attempt to do a pay-per-view. I originally had that planned on 2K22, but once 2K23 came out, I kind of honestly just left that behind. But it was probably for the best because I wanted to start scratch and make it more interesting. Now that 2K23 had the features of adding cutscenes, which honestly makes it a lot more better than what 2K22 had to offer. So,
and I guess speaking of our companies and stuff, from this, years of, with the new game and all of both of our companies and stuff, is there like any like, in your personal opinion stuff, what do you think of like the growth from like when both of our companies started versus how they've gone to now, as far as like in growth and being their own promotions and all?
I mean, it's still a work in progress, but it's definitely, a blessing to accept because we take our own times out of our own day to make the content that we make. Even just in general, if it isn't just like about 2K and all that, then it's basically for our own channels as well, in a sense. Yeah, man, I feel like there's really nothing else to add to that other than it's really just kind of been a blessing to do the things that we like to do, and we're not really limited to upload on what we want to upload, in a sense. The growth is still adding, it's gonna take a lot of time, but that shit doesn't happen overnight, but with a lot of effort, we're gonna get there one day. That's gonna be possible.
As my good friend would say, stay hydrated.
Yes, obviously. I really don't think there's anything else to add, to be honest. So, if you want to cut it there, then we can probably go ahead and cut it there.
I'm trying to think here if there's anything else that I could possibly add to this. Boy. Yeah, I think we could just cut it from there, because I don't really have any top questions I can think of right now at the moment.
Look, wait a minute. Okay, so another thing to address in the elephant in the room, kind of main reason why there hasn't been a lot of stuff happening with the boys as of late. We're all just basically busy with our own lives at this point. I believe Randy, he works late, and I want to fucking say one thing. He starts parties at the worst fucking time. I'm just gonna say
Yeah.
that. From my experience, I'm on the game still. Yeah, everyone's asleep. I'm doing my own thing. And I want to say it's roughly around 3:30 to almost 4 in the morning. And that's usually the time he tries to start a party with me. It's like, bro, we had all night to do whatever. I wouldn't care if it was around 11 at night, midnight, cool. But around 3:30 to almost 4, where I'm just barely getting ready to go to bed, no. I'm sorry, that's not gonna fucking work. No.
Yeah, that's something I do agree with, is that he does start parties at the last moment. Or, like, the fact too, like, if we're already in a party, he will invite us to one.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, let's just, yeah, yet again, like I always say to everybody else, that's serenity for you. And then, obviously, Crimson has his stuff with his job and more.
Yeah, then I'm not really gonna want to get into too much detail. This is something that he can probably go ahead and explain on his end. You can keep it private if he wants to. That's totally fine. But he did end up having a health issue, and I want to say that if things didn't go the way they went, we honestly probably would have lost someone, and that would have sucked. Especially if it was for a online friend that we've known for well over about 2.5 years, going on to 3, or however long at this point. And so that was kind of shocking, but at the same time, I'm just happy that he's still alive and breathing. So, again, I'm not going to get too much detail into that because that is a sensitive topic, and if he wishes to keep that private, I will understand his wishes. Um, and I still believe he still wanted to try to work on the channel more. I know you were trying to coach him on how to do the uploads for that on Share Factory.
Yeah, because I know he was having trouble with also like going to gallery and also uploading to that, so I've been trying my best to kind of teach him the ropes so that way, when it comes to editing and doing that other stuff too, it will come more, hopefully more easy for him.
And then I did say I was going to work on another, updated intro for him, but if anything, I think the one he has now, that's still perfectly fine. I want to say that was probably about like maybe fucking last year. I'd say that I worked on that intro for him. But yeah, we've just kind of been busy with our own separate lives for the most part. Like I stated in my compilation video with Jess, who knows what the fuck he's doing? I don't have contact with him. Neither does like anyone else, or even you, especially Cosmic, because
Well, and I've tried to give him a few calls, but his thing never goes through, and so I don't know if he still has his phone service or if anything, because I don't know if he's still in the same place that he was living in, or if he went to the place where his girlfriend was, because they were doing long distance thing. So if he's there and taking care of his, child, because I know he goes to visit her and stuff, kudos, I give him, props for at least trying his best to, be a good father. And yeah,
so yeah, that just goes to show, we're not always going to be available in a sense. Um, yes, Jess has been like our punching bag and whatnot with a bunch of bullshit, but you know what? He's able to take it. He was able to take a lot of offensive jokes and all that shit. So that does not prove, our friendship. Then I don't know what the fuck else to tell you.
Yeah,
Because it's not really a good friendship unless you like banter or give each other shit and no one gets offended at the end of the day. Simple as that.
Yeah, and plus, since I know he deals with like his mental stuff too, it's another reason why too, like, even though like I'm pretty sure he knows that I'm joking, but there are times where I do just check in on him, just letting him know that it was a joke and I don't mean it, because I know everybody deals with their mental health differently. That's a simple way.
Yep. And so now that I got all that sappy shit out the way, we're going to conclude, the outro for this podcast. It was honestly another productive one, to say the least. We got food.
I remember something that we were supposed to talk on this podcast.
You came out the closet finally. I'm so happy
for
you.
I'm straight.
No, thank you, but I appreciate the offer.
But anyway, of course, now that I actually remember what we were going to talk about on these podcasts, even though it's been like a century later, not literally, but so what made me thought of this is that it reminded me of your Skyrim video series that you were doing, and oh yes, well, here we get down to these curse things, and let me tell you, so I know that you were talking about how we were talking about the whole entire thing and stuff about, well, how our curse creations came to be. Well, my friends, buckle up, grab your popcorn, your candy, or whatever the fuck you enjoy snacking or drinking on, because we got a story to tell you. Well, I'm not going to go through every single little thing, but to kind of sum it up, my friend here introduced me to the forest, which you probably have heard us say repeatedly, but to kind of start off with the Fragrance Man character. With the Fragrance Man character, well, it all started years ago when he finally introduced me to the forest, and I was still a newbie at it, still learning the ropes about how to craft and all that other stuff. And then one time, after I got more and more used to it and stuff, he showed me where to find the blueprint for the church, which I'm pretty sure nowadays he regrets ever doing. But even though I'm not a religious person myself-wise or whatever, one day, I don't know why, I was just preset determined to just get this church thing done. He said that he was going to go get supplies while I did that, so not even halfway into his journey to get the supplies, I tell him that I'm almost done, and he was completely surprised. He said, "I'm not even halfway to my location. You're already halfway done?" Yeah. And then by the time that he got back, there's a church thing all set up, and then later down that road, I started watching Jay Slad and his kind of introduction to the character, even though he doesn't really use it that much, and well, one day I joined a party with Widow, and I thought he's probably gonna think this is stupid, but oh well. And then of course I said the infamous, "Just my fucking yes, that's an order for Beacon, aka Father Fragrance." And well, let's just say it was enjoyed for a while, and then before I know it, he messages me and, oh my fucking god, this guy can tell me that I teamed up with a father character. And I said, what monster did I create now? And then, of course, that's when we got Father Grigori. Oh my god, and you don't know how many times I had to hear the word congregation and come brother, we must do it for the congregation. Right, and then of course, then if that wasn't cursed enough, then we got to the thing with the bats where I named mine Judas, and well, off of a baseball bat, as you could probably tell, and then he named his bat Django, I think.
Yes, Django.
which is probably how you all can kind of tell where you got the name from this other character on 2K. But yeah, and then this happened on 7 Days to Die, where I think we came across, or you gave me a chainsaw, and you were telling me in a party that, you know, you named Judas off of a baseball bat. Why don't you name the chainsaw something? And I was like, fuck, what am I gonna name this damn thing? And then, well, of course, I named it Krieg, which, for those who don't know, was inspired by the character Krieg from Borderlands 2, I believe.
I think so.
Yep, and then, well, one day I just randomly said a bunch of shit and I completely dumbfounded him. Especially by saying your meat is succulent and I want to pound it.
Okay, well.
But anyway, I'm not continuing on with those subject, and then...
Well, we already know how the rest of the characters came to be, and
then, of course, we got the retarded Eddie and LG and
so
many
on
others.
And so forth. That would have to be another podcast for another time. Because, Jesus Christ, the creations that we came up with, I don't know how the hell we put up with it.
And by the way, people like this want to put this on the record that, well, this guy here across from me right now that's doing this recording, he always encourages my bad behavior on making more cursed characters. I don't know what I did to encourage it, but, well, here we are. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be more down the line, so that's going to be a treat for you all. And, yep, and besides from that wise, I'm still currently working on an idea for my new Sim series.
And I'm definitely going to try to revamp that as well. Because I made a lot of broken promises, and, well, I'm kind of shitty at doing, well, trying to be consistent. But that is going to change as the months continue. But anyways, that's pretty much gonna cut it. This has been, the Opens Minds podcast. God, when was the last time I've ever said that?
And of course, as the famous Chad Gable would say, thank you!
Okay, well, again, I'm gonna catch you guys on the next side. Peace. And stay hydrated. No. Anyways, I'm cutting the recording. Okay.